She's trying to get pressure. Pass is going to be intercepted this time. And the Honey Badger gets his second of the game. Tyrann Mathieu, his second pick in the game and his fifth of the season. You can't trick the Honey Badger late in the game, and the Kansas City Chiefs get the huge, big turnover to close the game again.
It wasn't perfect, but the Chiefs hung in there to win their 7th game in a row on Sunday with a close one over the Denver Broncos. Hey everybody, and welcome into The Breakdown. My name is Matt McMullen, and this week we're talking about that grinded-out victory over Denver that moved the Chiefs to 11-1 on the year and officially locked up a playoff spot for a 6th straight season. You'll hear from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyrann Mathieu this week, but first, let's check in with Coach Reid.
Really, there's not much of any injuries to announce for you. I think you saw where Clyde dressed out, didn't play. He didn't practice this week, and I just felt like he lost some weight with the stomach virus, and I'd pull him back out. The other guys did a nice job of filling in for him. Tyrann, I just saw Tyrann did a beautiful job on starting the game and finishing the game with 2 interceptions, and that kind of led the way. That was great enthusiasm for the defense. I thought our defense, played a good game and really rallied towards the end of it in particular. And then Butker, I thought was stand out with his 5 field goals there, so he did a nice job. And then offensively, again, Kelce and Pat and that connection there did a nice job. Tyreek had a couple touchdowns. I'll take blame for the one that I've never had a receiver that didn't know he caught the ball. So, he came off and said he didn't catch it, and I probably should have hung on to that just a little bit longer to look at the replay. But I've been doing this a couple of years. I've never had that situation, so it was a new experience for me. I'll try to do better. Try to do better the next time with it. But what a heck of a job by him. He had 2 touchdowns taken back and away from him. So, but my hat goes out to the Broncos. They came in and played a nice game. Vic had a great game plan for both sides of the ball and his special teams group, and he's great for this division, man. He's a heck of a football coach, and they just keep getting better and better. And that young quarterback of theirs, Locke, local kid, man, he keeps getting better. So it's great competition, and I'm glad we came out on top today. So we'll go back and get ourselves cleaned up with a couple things and get ready for the Dolphins.
The Chiefs had to battle in this one. It wasn't pretty, but the fact of the matter is that a win is a win, and we'll take them however we can get them, especially against divisional opponents. All right, let's jump into the game. The first half was a relatively quiet one, as both teams combined for just 19 points. The Broncos had the ball first and drove it into Kansas City territory thanks to a big passing play on 3rd down to Noah Fant, but Tyrann Mathieu made sure Denver wouldn't have anything to show for it when he picked off Drew Lock on the very next play.
Lock with time, now it breaks down. Now he scrambles to his left, throws up the boundary, and the pass will be intercepted. Intercepted on an inside leverage play. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, picks it off. His 4th of the year and the 12th pick thrown this season by Drew Lock of the Broncos.
That made it 11 games this season with a takeaway for the Chiefs defense, but despite a big play to Demarcus Robinson early on in the drive, Kansas City couldn't cash in on the turnover. The 2 teams traded field goals after that before Drew Lock found wide receiver Tim Patrick for a 5-yard touchdown a bit later, the only touchdown for either team in the first half, to put Denver up by 7. The Chiefs chipped away at that deficit over the final 6 minutes of the first half as Butker connected on 2 more field goals before the break to pull within a single point, and then on the opening series of the 3rd quarter, Butker hit another field goal to push Kansas City out in front. The Chiefs had their first lead of the night behind Butker's 4 field goals, but it didn't last long, as Denver was back in the end zone on their first series of the second half when Locke once again found Tim Patrick for a 5-yard score. That made it 16-12 Broncos late in the 3rd quarter, and while most teams might be getting a little restless at this point, the Chiefs are not most teams. Patrick Mahomes led Kansas City on a 7-play, 75-yard scoring drive following Denver's touchdown, completing 4 of 6 passes for 69 yards through the air, plus a 6-yard scramble to move the chains on 3rd down, all culminating in a 20-yard strike to Travis Kelce for the Chiefs' first touchdown of the night.
Late throw comes near side. Kelce at the 5, angling left. Touchdown! Kansas City! Kelce on the reception from Patrick Mahomes.
The Chiefs moved the ball up and down the field all night, but just couldn't seem to punch one in the end zone through basically 3 quarters. So it felt pretty good when Kelce finally got one in there. Mahomes spoke about that postgame.
Yeah, it felt good just because when you move the ball like that and you don't score touchdowns, that's how you you keep games tight. And we got to do a better job of that. The last 2 weeks, we haven't found a way in the red zone to score touchdowns, and we've been good at that all year long. And so you want to make sure that you find a way, especially going into the late part of the season and into the playoffs, of scoring when you get those opportunities, because that's what changes games.
Now, the good news in this one, at least, is that the game was still very much for the taking despite those red zone struggles earlier, and as Kelce trotted into the end zone, the Chiefs were back in front. The defense then did their job, forcing the Broncos to punt on their ensuing possession, but despite what appeared to be a huge touchdown connection between Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, a holding call wiped out that play and stalled the Chiefs' offensive drive. That then brings us to a pretty critical sequence. Denver moved the ball to midfield with just over 6 minutes left, but Locke couldn't connect with KJ Hamler on 3rd and short. It was 4th and 3 and decision time for Denver, but instead of going for it, they elected to punt, and Kansas City took back over at their own 15-yard line. This was a gut-check drive. The Broncos are pinning their ears back trying to get the ball back to their offense, but this is where having the best player in the world at quarterback certainly helps out. The Chiefs went 55 yards and ate up more than 5 minutes of clock, setting up a 48-yard field goal by Harrison Butker, his 5th of the night, to make it a 6-point game with just about 1 minute left. It won't go down this way in the stat sheet, but this was a game-winning drive. The Broncos gambled punting the ball back to the Chiefs with 6 minutes left, hoping to get a quick stop. The Chiefs made sure of the opposite, bleeding clock while adding to their lead. It's the definition of what champions do, especially when they haven't played their best up to that point. Mahomes discussed his thoughts on their ability to finish postgame.
I mean, we're just battle tested. I mean, we've played in a lot of tight football games, and we have to find ways to win. Obviously, we didn't play the way we wanted to as far as in the red zone of executing and scoring touchdowns instead of field goals. But in this league, you have to find a way to win. Every single team is going to bring their best shot and going to have a chance to beat you. And as long as you come out to win in the end, it doesn't have to be pretty. And I thought the guys did a great job of battling today and finding a way.
Now, the game wasn't quite over yet. Denver still had about a minute to work with, but on 4th and 5 at the Denver 30-yard line, Locke fired a prayer downfield that Matthew jumped in front of for his 2nd pick of the night.
She's trying to get pressure. Pass is going to be intercepted this time. And the Honey Badger gets his 2nd of the game. Tyrann Mathieu, his 2nd pick in the game and his 5th of the season. You can't trick the Honey Badger late in the game, and the Kansas City Chiefs get the huge, big turnover to close the game again.
There's some poetry in this. Matthew picked off Locke to begin the game and picked him off again to finish it. Here's what he had to say about the Chiefs' ability to finish this one off defensively.
Well, I feel like we're built for it. Obviously, I think we're built to, beat teams by 3 scores too. But I think when we get in these tight games, I think we're comfortable. I think we understand what we have to do to kind of pull ourselves through. I think our coaches do a great job too, of just staying even keel, staying balanced, not being too high or too low, and, just continuing to kind of push that encouragement into us. And, it's been paying off for us. And so, obviously, playing in December, you want to play your best ball. So that's really the only thing that we're focusing on right now is how can we show up and be the best, versions of ourselves.
I think we'd all like to see perfect games where the Chiefs are winning by 40 points, but I think it really does say something about this group that they've consistently taken everybody's best shot, and they've still found a way to win every time they've gone out there but once. This game is circled on everybody's schedule, but rather than coast on the fact that they're the reigning champs or feel sorry for themselves when things aren't going perfectly, the Chiefs found a way once again, and that's what champions do. All right, let's quickly dive into my 3 stats to know from this game. My first stat is 5. Travis Kelce tallied his 5th consecutive 1,000-yard season on Sunday night. 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. For context, no other tight end in NFL history has ever recorded 5,000-yard seasons in a career. Kelce just did it in 5 straight seasons. He also has 613 yards in his last 5 games alone. The guy is having a truly incredible season, but as usual, Kelce really doesn't care about the stats.
It's something cool to, I guess, hang your hat on when the career is over. I would assume right now I'm just focused on, the task at hand, trying to win football games, and going to enjoy this one for a night with the family, and then from there just focus on Miami. But all that stuff, I mean, this game is, I'm not the same without 10 other guys on that football field playing their tail off to move the ball down the field. And I'm a firm believer that individual accolades are a bit overrated in this game. And I'm just appreciative of being here in Kansas City and having the consistency that we've had over the past few years. And just very fortunate to be here.
Travis Kelce is ridiculously talented, but it's his humility that always stands out to me. It's likely a big reason why he's having the best season of his career at 31 years old, and I think he's only going to get better. My second stat is 31. The Chiefs are now 31-4 against divisional opponents since 2015. 31-4! That stretch also includes 11 straight wins against the Broncos, which matches a franchise record. Only the 1964 to 1969 Chiefs had this kind of run against Denver. My final stat is 6. The Chiefs locked up a postseason spot for a 6th straight season on Sunday, and while this team has bigger goals than simply making the playoffs, that's something to be recognized. Making the postseason is hard. Making the postseason consistently is even harder, but the Chiefs have made it an expectation nowadays because of the leaders up and down this roster, and it all starts with Coach Reid. It's also a result of this team's collective mentality. Most teams lose games like this. They roll over and chalk it up as not being their day, but not the Chiefs. Tyrann Mathieu spoke a bit more about that post-game.
Not only does it build character, it builds trust too. And you may not play your best game, but if you're able to win the game, you go into that week realizing that, wow, we actually trusted each other. We actually committed to each other, and that's the reason why we won the game. So, I think for us is, obviously we want to play well and dominate, but when we get in these tough spots and these critical spots, it's all about leaning on each other. It's all about the offense and the defense and the special teams. All of us are together, and as long as we can kind of keep that, I think we'll always be, a tough team to beat.
A tough team to beat indeed. And while this one may not win style points nationally, the Chiefs showcased some grit tonight that could very well pay off when it counts in January. That's all for this one, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, as always, and I'll see you later this week as we get ready for the Miami Dolphins. Until then, this is Matt McMullen, signing off.